Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com. And welcome to Sports on Tap. It's our high school football preview show. I'm Rob Troutman. We have Josh Jeffy and Noah Jacobson here with me tonight. And Ed Dick and Sean Duffy are out on assignment right now, so we are going to get started here tonight. And our first guest comes from the Greater Cleveland Conference, and the Euclid Panthers' second-year head coach, Damion Creel, joins us. Coach, thanks for taking time to join us here tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, I know it's a busy part of your season now, especially getting into the season with the off season rather, and getting into everything with the players. Talk a little bit about your off season and what has it been like for you this off season, going into your second year, coming off of, obviously it's not the season you wanted. It's a 2-8 season for Euclid, but it was also your first season, so you're starting to get your feet on the ground and really start to go running here into the second season.
Well, I can tell you this, guys. I took over in January. I got there. When I left Lorraine, I ended up leaving my contract early, getting to Euclid in January. And again, what we're trying to do right now is build a foundation of what we want this program to look like, smell like, taste like. And we had and we started everything from a weight room culture. Our kids spent the whole off season, 15 plus weeks in a bona fide weight room situation where they were, getting bigger, stronger, and faster. Every aspect of a program that there is, that's what we're in the process of doing right now. Before I got there, Euclid was 2-28 in a 3-year period, which is unheard of for a Euclid program, if you ask me, being in the Cleveland area. And last year we were able to go 2-8. So to me, that's a little bit of progress. 1-2 games last year. So we're in the stages of building the foundation. We're a lot farther along now when we were last year, being able to get a core group of kids that's been working in the off season. And you guys know how the GCC is. There's no off week. So we have our work cut out for us, obviously, but we have some players, we got some talent, and like I said, we are molding our program to what we want it to be and setting the standards and policies and procedures and expectations with that. So I'm happy where we are. We got a long way to go to get there. I'm proud of our kids and what they're doing, and it's all brand new to them. So we have our middle school program and our high school program been working out since May. That's pretty unheard of in the weight room and doing stuff. And we took part in a spring 7-on-7 league that was pretty decent. We got a lot of work in, so we're heading in the right direction. And solidifying the things that are essential for our program to be successful.
Coach, you guys got a lot of talent coming back this year, even though the record wasn't what you want in your first year. I mean, you guys got like Keyshawn Telfair. I mean, you got the big 5-star recruit coming back. You got Kamari Friesen, James Tessino, Elijah Robinson, Dion Russell. I can name almost any of your players that are coming back. Yeah. How important is it to have those players coming back, and how big of an impact is it for when you have guys like starting at like sophomores and juniors to really develop into that Friday night role for you guys?
Yeah, it's always nice to have talent, and obviously Keyshawn is who he is based off of the 26, 27 offers he has. And we have some other guys that are pretty talented as well, that are skilled guys. I would match our skill up with anybody in the state. That's how much I think of my guys, in the back end on the defense and our receivers. Euclid's always had an issue with linemen and up front. And that's what we're working through right now to try to solidify that and get some continuity and some chemistry, because that's where we struggled out last year. And our guys weren't strong enough. They weren't big enough. They weren't fast enough. And that was our whole goal in the offseason, was to get our kids bigger, stronger, faster, and get that buy-in. Because our kids, this group that I had last year, I was their 6th head coach in 4 years. So having a guy come in there and speak about this, and this, there wasn't a lot of buy-in, not being able to have a full off season and things like that. And, I think we've been able to grow as a team. Those guys have been able to trust what I say because I model it every day. I'm there every day, and I've been able to establish that back and forth and how things are supposed to be. So, we're developing all over the place. I think we have a good group of young kids too. Our 8th grade team was undefeated at the 8th grade level and the 7th grade level. And our biggest issue at Euclid is keeping our kids there. You look at St. Ed's starting tailback, a Euclid kid. Everyone comes in and tries to poach our kids. So, we're trying to build a force field around our kids and put together a program where kids want to be there. The last 3 years we had, being 2-28, no one wants to be a part of that, a situation like that. So, we're building a foundation of who we want to be and how we want to do things. And success will come with that as long as we continue to do the things we need to do and execute the things we need to do. That was our issue last year. We have a lot of individual talent, but that doesn't win in the GCC. It's collectively can you come together and be together and do it. And that's, you look at Strongsville and what they did last year. That was a collective unit of kids that did that. So, that's what we were trying to get to as a program. And, we got the kids to do it. It's just a matter of, being an inner-ring suburb school, we got different challenges than the Strongsvilles, than the Minners, than the Brunswicks. And we're taking note. We're not looking at them as negatives. We're trying to find our way and our niche and how we got to do things to get to where we want to be. Because there's talent here. We just got to keep it in Euclid, number one, and number two, we gotta be around them and pour into them, and what they need, socially, emotionally, physically.
Hey, Coach, could you talk about how the offseason has changed since you first started your coaching career and how, if it has changed, and how important it is? Because you've mentioned it a couple times already, and I remember reading articles, and you came on the show last year talking about how you had to build that culture that happens in the offseason. So talk about the importance and the focus that you guys now have towards that offseason program that lends into, getting into summer camp and then finally the full regular season.
Well, at the previous, a great question. The previous 2 places that I've been at, it's been the same. There hasn't been none of that, Josh, and we've had to build that, right? And we took 30 days off after our last game. And then I started with a core group of guys, and we got into the weight room and we talked about, it was just maybe about 12 dudes. And I was lifting with them, and this is how we lift. This is how we do this. And they're dead tired. They never had to do it before. And we did that for about 4 weeks with just those 12 kids. And then I had those kids invite one other kid with them who they think are important that's going to be a part of the program. So, again, it's important for us to go through that. I'll never be one of those head coaches that allow my strength coach and we don't have one right now. I'm the
Uh-oh.
I
think we lost him.
You might have froze up.
Man, he was good. He was on to something good.
Yes, he was.
Well, Rob, I don't know if he can maybe see if we can get him back on, but just talking about it, it's tough. Hey, Sean, good to see you. It's tough, realizing that a program is coming from 2 wins in 3 years, and then he got 2 years in his first year. That may not seem like a lot to a lot of programs, but that's quite a big statement in his first year building something.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get him back on here. He can talk about how that offseason is important. But, Noah, you were covering the GCC, and you had some Euclid games. Talk about, some of the players that they have from last year that can maybe grow into a bigger, a bigger thing this year. Oh, we have Coach back. Sorry about that, Coach.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Technical difficulties.
We know all about that, so don't feel bad.
So
His connection might be busy.
That's all right.
Yep. But yeah, he was on a roll, and like you said, he's trying to start from the beginning here, with Euclid and try to grow this program. he even said it, 2 wins is definitely progress for them from what they had, and that's something where you got to start from that point and you got to develop and keep these players, and that's exactly what he's trying to do with his off-season program, and I think it's pretty impressive, to see hopefully the Euclid pass.
Hello, you guys got
There you go.
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. No problem.
Can you hear us all right, Coach?
I can hear you guys great. Can you hear me?
Yep. We're good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on a roll there.
Yeah, man, I can talk for days, but I think pretty much the question that was asked was, how do we get it started? And it's just work. You got to put the kids in situations where they got to strain, and that's what the weight room is for. And again, we're in a situation where we didn't have any of that. They didn't have a foundation of that. And pretty much we wanted our kids to go through that to understand how a football game is. And the off season is so important because you find out who your kids are. You find out who's committed, who's not committed, who's going to quit, who's not going to show up. And like I said, we got a great core group of kids that stuck it out and got bigger and got stronger and are squatting what they need to be squatting and benching what they need to be benching and hang cleaning what they need to be hang cleaning. So I think we're going to be able to compete better this year, and it's hard to surrender when you put in the work together. And that's what we've been trying to preach to our kids in the 15 plus weeks we've been working out, since those 30 days off and obviously following up in the summertime.
Yeah, absolutely. And you like you said, you have to start somewhere. Do the players know what they have in Coach Creel? Because you were a 2-year starter. You were a standout at Hiram College, where you were a successful quarterback, and also you played baseball where you were successful. So you know what it takes to win. Looking up some of your information, in '97 you were a batting champion for the college. To take a look back at your college career, you were successful there, and obviously you've been a successful head coach, so you know what it takes to win. So you don't have to look far at Euclid to find a winning coach right there, and I think you're doing things the right way, and it's going to be exciting to see this Euclid team. Now, are there any younger guys that you're looking to that you think have a bright future there in Euclid that you're excited to see on the football field this year?
Yeah, we got a couple freshmen that are going to be, our freshman team should be pretty solid. Again, we have a running back that's pretty young that's going to be okay. We got a couple receivers down there. But pretty much we're going to be a junior, senior led team varsity wise. And JV, we got some sophomores that are developing right now. I don't want to give them the big head right now, but they're developing. they're doing, the one thing about our Euclid kids that I can tell you this is it's these kids know they're individually good. It's about them understanding the details and getting and doing the how do I want to put it? Doing the boring stuff over and over again where it becomes habit. That's our issue. When I was in Lorraine, we had issues with kids believing that they could do it. Here in Euclid, and we know we can do it. It's a matter of focusing on the details and that's what we preach every day. So we have a good group of a good crop of young guys, and again, to me, iron sharpens iron, and we want our older guys to sharpen our young guys. And we got colleges coming in looking at our kids. So once we have colleges coming in looking at our older kids, I can show now our younger kids. And that's how a program starts. So we're excited about what we got coming in. And we're excited about this upcoming season and what the possibilities are.
Coach, looking back on last year, obviously 2-8, but what are some of the biggest takeaways that you guys are looking to improve on as you head into the 2025 season?
Euclid is a very transient community. So our biggest goal and shouldn't say goal, but my biggest, I don't want to say issue either, but my biggest challenge was to get our team together. Because we got players coming in, we got players leaving, being a in-the-ring suburb. So we focused on, going 4 days a week. And one of those days we had a character development day. We called it Panther Talk, where we talked about, issues that our kids deal with. And we spent about 5 weeks on trust and accountability. And those are the things that as a group we're trying to focus on. And our biggest challenge is to get our kids to play together. When I first took the job, I remember we went somewhere and I had maybe 8 kids come in my office because we were waiting for the bus to get on the bus, and nobody said hello to each other. They just came in, they're on their phones, and they sat there. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You guys don't even say what's up, dap up, or nothing. So we had to start there. We had to start with our kids knowing each other, and even before that, knowing themselves so that they can know someone else and get to know someone else and have a team atmosphere, and our kids caring about each other and getting to know each other and that trust, man. Because if you don't have that trust, I don't care who you are or what you are collectively, you're not going to be very successful. So, that is the biggest challenge that we're right now dealing with is getting our kids to trust each other, trust the coaching staff, and focus on details, doing the boring things over and over again so that they become a habit and creating great habits so that we can be successful.
I was curious, Coach, just to kind of, self-reflect a little bit. I was just thinking about this question. If you could go back in time and tell first-year head coach, when you started your career, Coach Creel, what was one thing that you would tell that coach that you know now?
Oh, man. I would tell them my first year at Beechwood, I did everything. And if it wasn't done my way, I kind of just took over. And you got to delegate. You got to hire quality people. You can't do it by yourself, especially being I don't care that we're Division II, but Euclid's Division I, having all the kids we have. And there's so much to do because, you burn yourself out. So make sure you have quality people around you that you can delegate and do certain things to. And you can't do it all yourself. That would be the biggest thing. And that's something I've learned and I've been able to focus on now and be a better head coach.
It's kind of ironic that you said that because that's actually the message that you're kind of spread to your team, that you can't do it by yourself. You got to do it as a team. So that's kind of ironic that that's happened that way.
For sure.
Coach, I apologize. I was late myself. I was helping my son's youth football team fit up for pads, so you know how crazy that can be. So
yes, I do.
I apologize for being late. So if I ask a question that's already been asked, I apologize. But it's always a question I like to ask coaches is, and you mentioned it kind of in one of your answers that you guys are a transient community. A little bit, you got players coming in, families moving in, families moving out. Is that something that you're focusing on? Like you mentioned, building the program and building it. Is that something that you kind of a hurdle? Oh, I lost him. Wow.
He said, Sean, you were late. That's disrespectful. I'm out. Bro.
That's, you know what that is?
That's
not the first time that someone's hung up on me while asking a question. I can tell you that right now.
Well, we'll see if we can. We'll see if we'll get Coach Creel back on.
What? And again, I jumped on in the middle of this, so I don't know if he talked about building that program from a youth level, or is that an option in Euclid? I mean, I don't really know much about the Euclid community as such, and I'm wondering if that's something that can be done. Or there he is, he's back.
I apologize. That was my wife calling me.
The boss called. The boss called. I get that. I
much more important
get that,
for sure. Much
more
important.
When the boss calls, you pick up. That's the way it works. I get it.
Yes,
my question that I was asking was more about, you mentioned some of the younger kids and how you're trying to build that program. You mentioned the challenges that a transient kind of community is in Euclid. Yeah. Is there an opportunity in that community to build from a youth level, or is it really just kind of taking whoever comes into the high school and making do?
No, we have a great youth program that practices. We're fortunate at Euclid. We got 2 stadiums. We got the old school Sparky Stadium, where a lot of the history was built at Euclid, which is turf now. So our youth programs work out there every 4 days a week, 6 to 8. So we have the youth program, and again, I said it. If we can put a bubble around our kids that attend Euclid schools, and we're successful and we're able to reach those families, Euclid could be pretty daggone good. We got schools coming in poaching our kids. You got the Catholic schools coming in getting our kids out of the middle school, and again, they see success, in other places. We're preaching right now. Hey, listen, you can go wherever you want to go if you have aspirations of trying to play at the next level, because we have kids that have colleges coming to see them. We had over with Keyshawn, we had over about 50 to 60 schools coming to our building. And I'm taking those college coaches down to our middle school and our freshmen and walking the halls, so they're seeing it. So it's like, what else do you want? Come here and play. Let's make Euclid great again. And again, our kids don't fully understand the history of Euclid. But again, we have made a bona fide push with that this offseason to do that. And we've pretty much we lost maybe about 2 or 3 kids to other places. But before that, we were losing 8, 9, 10 kids to other places. And, again, that's going to be a continued focus on us. And, me being close with the youth programming and able to dive into them this offseason has been a great help.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for coming on and talking about the Euclid program and giving us a little preview of some of the players to look out for. And we're excited to see what the Euclid Panthers can do in the Greater Cleveland Conference this year. Thanks for taking time to join us here tonight.
Again, I appreciate it. I apologize for the interruptions and the technical difficulties, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll look to talk to you and maybe some players during the season at some point.
For sure. Can't wait. Can't wait, man.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Have a good night,
take
Coach.
Care. All right, you too. Go Panthers.
That is head coach of the Euclid Panthers, Damion Creel, joining us here on Sports on Tap. It's our Raymond Felton State Farm High School football preview show. And guys, just great talking to him. And he really dives into it and is trying his best to keep all those kids there in Euclid, because they do have a lot of talent. I mean, for a while they were making the playoffs almost every season. I mean, they had some success there, and they're looking to restore that there.
And you notice that, he made the same kind of comparison to what a lot of schools in that area and a lot of schools that are that quote unquote inner ring or outer ring suburbs, they're trying to keep the talent in the school district. And that's a struggle for a lot of these public school teams, because there are those Catholic schools that are in those private schools that are there that are saying, hey, come play for us. And again, we don't want to demonize those schools. That's people go to different schools, choose to go to different schools for whatever reason. But again, in program building, especially in the high school area, you want to be able to have those kids start, in 3rd grade, 4th grade, rookie flag football, and see them progress all the way through, and watch them be very good on Friday night for the hometown. I mean, that's what I think all of us grew up with. You guys played Brunswick football for however long, all the way through high school. I played Vandalia Butler football, middle school through. Noah Medina, the same scenario. It's what the football is about. I coming from the Dayton area, we didn't have that issue, or the issue that Northeast Ohio has, where the Catholic schools are so much more involved than what they are now. So that's an interesting take, and it's good to see and to hear those perspectives.
Well, we'll move from Coach Creel on to the Rocky River Pirates. As head coach Josh Wells joins us now after going 8-4 last year. They had a good win in the playoffs against Holy Name, 34-14. Fell to Lexington in the next round. Coach Wells, thanks for taking time to join us here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you. And I know it's the off season. Every coach is going through their off season program. How was the summer for you, and how's the off season kicking off here?
It's been productive. Most specifically in the weight room, our kids really, I don't want to say butt-in's not the right word, but they really, emphasize the need to improve our team strength. After we lost that last game to Lexington, we kind of, got pushed around a little bit. So the motivating factor of the offseason was getting stronger, and our kids have done that. We look bigger than we've looked and stronger than we looked in a long time. So it's been productive in that sense. And, we just got back from Mount Union team camp where we were gone last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that was always a good time, but very productive for us as well.
So, Coach, I mean, to kind of reflect on the season, you guys again finished 8-4, and coming into this year, what's been your guys' from a coaching standpoint, your guys' message, as far as rounding the team into the the training camp season and now into the beginning of a new season.
Yeah, kind of building off what I just mentioned about the weight room and conditioning and strength and whatnot. Past couple of years, we've had some really good teams and really good records, and score a lot of points. And there's a couple of things that we've struggled to do, and it was really on full display against Lexington in that Week 12 game. We were up a couple scores, and we just got wore down. They physically were able to just take it to us a little bit, and that's been the driving message, force, mantra, motto, whatever you want to call it, was not again, right? We're not going to be the same team. We're not going to get knocked out in that second round, and we want to be different than last year's team. And but our off season has been really, once we got started a little late, but it's built around strength. It's built around conditioning. The X's and the O's and the formations and the plays, those come later. But, we really want to make sure we're able to compete, not just, schematically, but physically. And that's, what we emphasized all off season.
Coach, with all.
Go ahead, Noah.
Go, Noah.
Oh, sorry, Josh. So with the players for you, Coach Wells, coming back, I mean, I think it starts at the top with your quarterback, Ryan Taylor. I mean, what a big production that he's going to be having to your offense once again. And you got other guys like Michael Wolgo, Stephen McHenry, Alex Van Meter. I can name almost any of your guys. How important are those guys going to make a really big impact for you going into the 2025 season?
Anytime you can have a quarterback back who, led you to the playoffs and had the success that he did, it's a boost in the offseason. We do have a lot of talent, and we have a lot of names that I could sit here and mention that people really didn't get a chance to see last year because of who was ahead of them. I feel like we have, from top to bottom, both sides of the ball, our most well-rounded, talented team that we have had, maybe in the past 5 or 6 years. And not just that, there's depth to it. Ryan Taylor's a phenomenal athlete. He's a really good quarterback. He can, beat you with his arm, beat you with his legs, but the ability for him to, prolong plays kind of helped us last year. We had a very inexperienced offensive line in certain positions, and, his legs helped, save us a few times. He got a little dinged up middle of the year, and he was in and out of the lineup. So this year you get to see a fully healthy Ryan Taylor and, really see what he can do and how he can lead us on the field. But then, like you mentioned, Alex Van Meter, Stephen McHenry, those are two offensive and defensive line starters that are back. And if we can win in the trenches, that puts us at a huge advantage week in and week out. The games that we lost, if you look back last year, we lost to Bay, we lost to Buckeye, we lost to Sandusky, Perkins, and Lexington. All 4 of those games were won in the trenches. They were able to do what they wanted to do and move us around. And if that core group of linemen with some newcomers, we have some sophomores that are going to get some looks, but some other guys that had a really good JV season last year that we're counting on. So it's a talented team. It's a fun team. It's a challenging team just because we're trying to move pieces and parts around and see what gives us the best looks possible. So really excited to see what this group does this year.
Coach, I kind of want to go back to the strength and conditioning aspect of your off season because in our interviews that we've had with previous coaches, that's kind of been the theme about strength and conditioning, getting stronger. Now, in your time as coach, like going into this season, have you or the program, have you done anything differently to kind of maybe emphasize that a little more or get kids doing something a little different than they have in the past? Because, when we were all in school, it was just, hey, go to the weight room and lift. Now it's more,
Right.
there's more of a program involved.
It is, and we're fortunate. We have a company that comes in and puts together our weight programs for us, and at T3, and we did approach it a little differently this year. And it's kind of funny that you asked this question because I was sitting talking to our group of seniors about how pleased that we are as a staff, how much they've emphasized the weight room, and we really didn't. We didn't really force the issue. We told them, this is what we've done. This is our track record. This is what needs to be changed. This is the X factor, and it's on you. You're going to do it or you're not. We're going to, play week 13, play week 14, or we're not. And it starts right now. And hats off to the senior group that really rallied the kids around and they did it on their own. If you'll be a successful team, we believe that it should be player leadership, not coach leadership, driven all the time. We can only be a rah-rah guy so much and so long and come up with certain phrases or mantras or, clapping hands and screaming, shouting, whatever. If the players can do that themselves, we're a step ahead. And that's kind of the challenge that we laid out to our group this year was like, you guys have to do this. It's you're going to do it or you're not. We're going to win or we're not. And, they want to contend for the Cleveland West Conference Championship this year and then, continue to move on in the playoffs. That week 12 has just kind of been a wall for us that we kind of got to break through this year. So, we really put it a lot on the kids and they responded.
We're talking with head coach of the Rocky River Pirates, Josh Wells, as he joined us here on the Raymond Felton State Farm High School Football Preview Show. And Coach, I know, I believe you're in your, 10th season now at Rocky River?
Going on 11.
Holy cow. I mean, where has the time gone with that? Tell you what, that's crazy.
Right.
But, going into your 11th season, from kind of when you started, has the game evolved or how have you had to change your philosophy, whether it's on the field or off it? Obviously, we're talking about strength and conditioning and programs and all that has changed, but what else has changed in your mind as a head coach going into your 11th season?
Man, a lot, quite frankly. I've really, anytime we kind of hit a lull, if we, I feel like we're stagnant as a program, we make changes. And it's not dramatic changes, and it's not, like people are looking at me like I'm crazy. But a couple years back, we were always, pretty run-based offense and play action and had a lot of success with the personnel that we had, and it just kind of got to a point where I felt we were too comfortable as a staff, too comfortable as a program, and we shook it up. We went to this wide open 4 or 5 wide offense, and kids love that stuff. So if you want to talk about how the game's adapted, they want to throw the ball, they want to score touchdowns, they want those big, take the top off the defense plays. And that's not my jam. That's not my comfort level. That's not what I've had success early on. It's not what I played in college and learned in college. So I kind of had to push myself out of my comfort zone and push my staff out of their comfort zones to say, hey, let's make this fun. Let's make this interesting. But who do we got? What can we do? And what do they do well? And that's where we came up with that. The offense that we're running now, but I think the biggest change that I've seen though, from our perspective is 10 years ago, I was obviously a lot younger. I was my early 30s and I was, gung ho, football. And, I'm starting to see how kids have changed. Kids have, priorities are changing a little bit, and the rise of summer baseball, the rise of summer lacrosse leagues, and instead of fighting it and, trying to force kids to be football only, it's a losing battle anymore. we and that's not saying football is not important, but we want our kids to compete. They're competing in the summer. They're staying in shape. They're conditioning. They're doing all those things. And when the time comes for our camps and our lifting sessions, the kids are there. And I think that change over the past the past 5 years has been really big. The rise of those two sports, but our ability to adapt our program and make sure our kids feel that they can go out and play other sports and they're not tied just to not just a football player. Go play lacrosse, go run track, go play summer basketball, go do all these things, be a kid, because you only have a few years to do this. And I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've had to make as a head coach, to say, okay, it can't be, football nonstop for these kids. It's, kids are going to be kids, let them do what they love to do. And, our kids have bought into that philosophy, and I think they really enjoy it.
Coach, go ahead, Noah.
Coach, looking back on your first year in the Cleveland West Conference, you guys went 5-2. Obviously, you had those 2 losses to Buckeye and Bay. But going back to the last year and the first year of the Cleveland West Conference, what are some of the things that you could take from last season as you guys are looking to improve on going into year 2 in the Cleveland West Conference?
No week is easy. I think there's times as certain conferences, and if you look back probably 5, 6, 7 years ago in the old Great Lakes Conference, where you could say, okay, maybe this week this team's a little down, or you kind of mark one where you can get some guys rest. And this year, each week was a dogfight. When you have a kid at Normandy, their quarterback, his name slips my mind right now. That kid physically dominated football. We had to do everything in our power to win that game. Valley Forge runs an offense that's very hard to prepare for. That wing team, they're tough. They're hard-nosed kids. There's no week off for us. I know there's different conferences. You look at Southwest Conference, they're probably saying the same thing. But for our program, for our conference, it's each week is a challenge. And I think we have really good coaches in our league. We lost a good one on Ron Rutt from Bay. He resigned, but our conference is very well coached, very well prepared, and they're pretty physical football games, contrary to what I think some outsiders that don't know a lot about the schools that are in our conference might say. But I think that's the biggest takeaway. I know Coach Brediger's on here. Teams like North Olmsted, you could never count anybody out. He's probably going to talk about our game last year. We caught a break with a no call on a roughing the punter, and we're able to win that game. So he'll bring that up, I'm sure, because he does every time I see him. But it's a really good conference. Each team and like I said, they prepare their kids so well. You have to be on top of your game planning Saturdays and ready to roll throughout the week. So that's a great question.
Coach, I like to ask a question of every coach is, who are some of the, we talked a lot about your seniors coming in. Who are some of those young kids that, you mentioned, I think on your offensive line, you got a couple sophomores coming in, a couple JV kids that are maybe looking to make their mark. Is there a couple of names out there we should familiarize ourselves with coming into this year?
So you have a couple kids. You have Michael Beebe, who has, there's been a Beebe in our program since I took over back in 2015. Mm-hmm. He's only a junior. He started last year as a sophomore, had a really good, started as a corner. He had a really good year. He's back. Danny Berg was a starting wide receiver. He's only a junior. So he's ready to break out and, kind of make it his own. Rowan Kennedy is a sophomore. He's another wide receiver. He's going to be a big play guy for us. He had some. He was out the first half of the season. He had an injury, and then he came back. And by week 11, 12 in the playoffs, he's in our rotation as a freshman. Rocco Bayon, sophomore. He's playing safety, running back. He's one that will look to be out there on Friday nights. Connor Novosel is a sophomore linebacker. So there's a lot of talented kids, and Tristan Hughes is another name. His family moved into Rocky River, and he transferred in back in December. He's a big-time wide receiver DB player. So, you look across the field, on our skill positions, and there's a lot of talent, extreme amount of talent. So up front, we mentioned Alex Van Meter. He has a younger brother who's a sophomore. He's going to be relied on both sides of the ball, offensive, defensive line. Blake Gertz is another one, big-bodied tackle. He's got some big shoes to fill. We lost Will Sweeney, but Blake's looking to step up and fill that role. So, our numbers are higher this year than we've had in 10 through 12 in maybe 5 years. So we have a lot of guys out, JV varsity guys. So, there's a lot of competition. We have a lot of wide receivers, but just across the board, there's a lot of competition for playing time, which always benefits us. When your kids are competing, and you're going to get the best out of them.
Absolutely. And Coach, we appreciate you coming on and talking a little Rocky River Pirates football and kind of going through the season. A lot to look forward to this season in the Cleveland West Conference, and really appreciate your time tonight. I know it's a busy time for you, and we look forward to seeing what the Pirates are going to do this season.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me on again. Love what you guys do. This is an awesome show.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one.
You too. You too.
Bye.
All right, that is head coach of the Rocky River Pirates and Mount Union alum. I know Ed would be really happy that we would give that a shout out because he also went to Mount Union. So
no, he did.
No, it's
I
amazing.
didn't even know that about Ed.
It's amazing.
No,
but that's his buddy.
Ed went to Mount Union. He didn't play football there, did he?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
No, okay.
But a lot of these Mount Union guys, they're all over the place.
I know,
but
here I am showing up late and all this kind of stuff.
Hey, that's all right, buddy. You showed up, man. You're here. But want to thank Coach Wells for joining us.
It'll be taken off your paycheck, Sean, so don't worry about that.
That's right.
Awesome. You know what? Spoken like a true boss who's been out for a couple of weeks trying to get the wheels back on. All of a sudden he wins a championship, and Josh has got all these things he wants to make better for the show.
Right.
I see how it goes.
That's right. Well, from one coach to another, head coach Josh Wells mentioned this next head coach. He's at North Olmsted. He's very well known. He might be a friend of show status at this point. The North Olmsted Eagles football program. They were 5-6 last year. They did make the playoffs. They lost, and most teams lost to this team, the Avon Eagles, in the playoffs. Coach Tim Brediger joins us. And, Coach, thanks for taking time to join us here tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I mean, look at this new background you got there, man.
Yeah, that's fancy.
That's pretty impressive there.
My O-line coach, before he left tonight, he helped me out. So he's a little younger and a little better with tech than I am. So he took care of me.
It's actually a very intimidating Eagles. So I think that might be the theme of your season this year.
Right. That's our new logo. Just got adopted from our school board. I don't know. I think in the summer last year, and now we're using it on all our stuff. So,
wow,
very nice.
I like it.
Well, Coach, you went 5-6 last season. You had some close games though in there. I mean, a 17-16 game against Rocky River. But you look at how your season started. You lost 4 in a row, but look at what a turnaround your team had in the end of the season. I mean, you look at 5 out of 7 games you won there to end the season, and you really were on a high note, and you could tell your team really started figuring out the offensive game plan. Defense was solid. Talk a little bit about last season and then your off season so far.
So, we kind of adopted a new offense last year, just looking at what we have coming up and, who we were returning last year. And we had been a spread, wide open team for 3 or 4 years before that, where we threw it, 20, 25 times a game, sometimes 30 times. And we wanted to kind of change how we did things because of our personnel. And so we went more to a kind of a run ball control type offense and took us a while to move the pieces around. And thankfully we had a senior class that was willing to kind of, we had guys move positions after week 2 and 3 and kind of really solidified what we were doing. And the other big thing is if you look at who we played the first 4 games last year, all those teams we played, I think at some point were 4-1 or, 3-1, 5-1. Ridgeville had a great run last year. Midview's a tough team. Amherst was really good throughout the season last year, and Buckeye, obviously. won our conference. So those 4 really prepared us for the rest of our season. And, we play the same 4 again. So it'll be a tough start to the season, and we're going to learn a lot about who we are and what we can do.
Coach, you mentioned that you kind of went to a new offensive game plan last year, and you're in probably your second year with that. This would be your second year coming in. Do you find it's now you guys are now over that speaking a different language barrier, and it's more refining with your team? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was unique because we had 21 seniors last year, which is a lot for us. And we had some very high football IQ type kids, so we felt if we're going to make the change, this was the time to do it. And we retained a lot of the spread concepts, but we were, a tight end wing, kind of gun wing T, spread wing T type deal, which we loved. Great for our personnel. It just took us a while to have answers, like you can study, you can watch film, and you can do things, but when the bullets start flying on a Friday night, how quickly can we respond and make adjustments? And we had some O-line injuries last year during camp that really set us back about 2-3 weeks. And, we got healthy week 3, week 4, and started to play teams that looked more like us, and numbers were similar and guys that played both ways and things like that. And our kids really bought in with, we didn't quit. It would have been easy to fold last year when you're 0-4, and credit to those kids. They didn't, and we got better each week. And I feel like we don't have a lot of seniors this year. We only have 10, which is low for us, but we've got kids now that have been in the offense all winter, all last year, and kids that have played multiple spots in the offense, so you can move them around in different packages and things like that. So I think we're past the basic teaching part, and we're able to kind of get into right where we left off last year, which is nice.
Coach, when you mentioned those seniors, obviously you had 23 last year, and now this year you only have 10. You guys got like Javion Pierce, Lawrence Taylor, Mitchell Jones. I can name almost any of those seniors. But kind of talk about some of the underclassmen who are really looking to make an impact for your team this year.
Yeah, our we have a quarterback, Will McPherson, who's going to be a junior. It's a tough kid. He's had some severe family struggles that I won't go into that no young man should have to deal with, and he's overcome those, and he basically lost both parents in the same year, and he's a remarkable young man, and just the kid you want to rally around, and he's going to be our quarterback as of now. And he's a really good athlete, might even play in the secondary a little bit, so we're looking for some big things from him. A couple other kids, Kyle Allen is a great leader, Jackson Rumis, another great leader, 2 kids that are going to be juniors that really do anything you ask of them in school, in the hallway. They both have over a 4.0. And they're kids that are just quiet leaders that do things the right way. And I think our team has a core group of kids like that you might not know their names, but they're going to do things right. And they're going to be accountable for what they're supposed to be doing. And they're going to be great locker room kids. And I think that's going to be the nucleus of our team, this year and even next year are kids like that.
Coach, I'm curious to going back to when you decided to change the offense up a little bit, and just kind of talk about, if you can, like what was that like at the end of the season? How you got your staff together? How long did that actually take? To actually come up with a formulation of what you want to kind of make your offense look like going into the following year, and kind of think about how that will translate with the the players and so on and so forth.
The biggest thing I always try to do is look ahead a couple of years and see who do we have in 8th grade, who do we have in 9th grade. And obviously you got to fight to keep those kids because we lose a ton of kids to the private schools. And we were fortunate this year we kept every single kid from our undefeated 8th grade team. They lost 1 game in middle school in the 2 years, and we kept all of them, which is first time that's happened for us. We're always losing a kid to somebody. So that's critical. We're a program that's going to we have a lot of running backs and like fullback types coming up. And we used to be more spread oriented where we had a ton of wideouts. We had 2 Division I wideouts in a 2-year span. And we have some really good wideouts. We don't have those types of kids, right? So we looked at our offense and the quarterbacks that we had coming up, and we've got some athletes coming up that can play quarterback. And this system gives us the freedom to run the quarterback if he can run. He doesn't necessarily have to, but to also put 2 or 3 backs on the field at the same time, and move around and spread out and really run 5 or 6 basic concepts out of a million different formations, which hopefully becomes easy for our O-line, but hard for defenses to defend what we're doing because of having a tight end and wing and being able to move people around. But it took, the greater portion of last winter and a lot of meeting time. Our offensive coordinator the previous couple of years is now the head coach at Lorraine, Coach Boyas, who does a great job. He's a big spread guy, and he really did a great job for us the 3 years he was here. But we looked at the coaches that we had left and who was, who teaches in our building and what they're good at and what they know. And, this is what we kind of came up with. And, my first year in 1999, we ran the wing T for 5 years under Coach Mark Hollers. And, we ran the spread for the last 3 years, and we kind of merged some of those concepts together that our staff knew. So we may look spread, but really we're a wing T team at our core. But we try to spread it out and run some RPOs off of it. And we run probably 7 or 8 different empty formations a game, and just, we're constantly moving and shifting people. So it's not your old school wing T, but it's not a spread. It's somewhere in the middle, and we're comfortable with it. And we feel like we have personnel. And the other good thing is nobody really runs it in our conference. Valley Forge runs the old school wing T, and they do a great job with it. We're not them and they're not us. So it's a different offense to prepare for than, everybody sees all summer with 7-on-7 stuff. So
so more of a spread T. We'll call it a spread T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kind
so
of.
we have a tight end wing almost every play, but we don't have to end up that way when the ball's snapped. Guys can move, they can motion and shift, and we can do different personnel groups, but it's a little bit different running attack than people normally see with all the spread zone type teams that are out there. So I think it makes it harder to prepare for than maybe teams are used to. And, you plan all week what you think you're going to see out of a defense, and we would see a million different things. And for me, I like that because it means that they're doing something that they're not used to, so it's hard to just line up and play.
Yeah. So. Just to add on to that, sorry to interrupt you, to add on to that, does that change in the offense trickle down now to the lower youth levels?
Yeah.
You spread that out, how receptive are the other, the youth coaches for that change and the concepts that you're trying to instill now?
It's been great. And, I've always been a coach that, you look a couple of years back and say, what do we want to be in? We don't have 100 kids, so we can't just stay in the system. Right. So the spread was great when we had those bodies and we knew what we had coming up. And we look back and we're going to look and say, hey, we have a ton of running backs and wing back and fullback types coming up from 8th grade to 9th. Mm-hmm. And we liked last year's group with this system. So, our middle school adopted it last year. I know we've met with our recreation department a few times about trying to get some of the terms down into the flag league and things like that. And, so, it's gone well, but like anything, it's a work in progress. We would run things in practice last year, come back and watch film and be like, nope, that's dumb. Sometimes you try to get too creative and you ultimately get into a football game and you run what you're good at, and it's amazing how much time we spend on things that we run once in a game, or we decide that they don't look good by Thursday and we don't run them at all. But
we're talking.
Coach, I did have a follow-up because you mentioned something in one of your answers about how it's important to have either you or members of your coaching staff in the buildings with your players and being around. Do you find that helps with the retention part that you mentioned? You mentioned that you guys were able to keep all of your 8th graders coming into high school. Does you and your coaching staff being in the building lend itself to kind of creating that community and that kind of hey man, we're building something here?
Yeah, I think
type
so.
of atmosphere.
I think having a new complex, which not new anymore, but I think it's 8 years old now, going into year 9, maybe, or 8, where the middle school and high school are connected is huge, because it's easy enough just to walk in my free period, walk into the cafeteria and talk to kids and have our high school kids interact with some of those middle school kids. And it's way easier. The rec center that in our community put in new turf 3 years ago. So all winter, we're able to go up there. We do 1 or 2 days a week where we have all grade levels come up and we train together, and our old kids show them how to do things. And that's been really fun, especially to see our old kids become leaders and work with the incoming 6th, 7th graders. So that's kind of changed how we operate things and kind of made it more, to me, we're trying to really keep kids and get them invested at a young age into what we're doing. And obviously having teachers in the building is huge. So this current year, we hired 2 young teachers that are coaching with us that are in the building. And there's a couple other. So we've got 5, I think, varsity coaches that are in the building, which is the most I've had on my staff in a long time. 5 of our 10. So yeah, that's a lot. And, when I first started, I think it was everybody. It was all 8 or 9 guys. And I think, times change. And, but we hired a couple good young ones that are really good. And, it's nice for me. It's my 27th year here to see, our district go out and kind of invest in what we're doing and bring some guys in. And last couple of years, we've been able to get some coaches that are doing not just football, but, other sports as well. So.
We're talking with head coach of the North Olmsted Eagles, Tim Brediger, and Coach, you talked about it, 27th season already. We talked to Coach Wells, and he's already in his going into his 11th season. So it's crazy how time flies when you're having fun as a head coach there, right? But how tough is it when you lose? You lost Coach Boyes as an offensive coordinator. He led you guys, the playoffs. Your offense was really clicking with him. How tough is it to lose a coach like that who's been in your system, who runs a good offense, and you see the offense clicking, and then you have to go out and kind of find another guy? Is that tough to do at the high school level?
It is hard. It's hard because you want your coordinators ideally to be in your building because you're spending so much time and those study halls or just those little trips you can make to the cafeteria to talk to a kid, especially during the season, and the ability to watch film, how easy that is now. But a lot of times it's good to watch it with the kids, right? So having coordinators in the building is huge. And we're lucky. Our defensive coordinator has been the same guy for my 13th year as a head coach. He's a teacher at Olmsted Falls, so he's right around the corner. And we've got some really good offensive coaches that are retired teachers that are around constantly. So it means a lot to our kids to have those guys that are calling the plays and drawing things up and doing stuff, to have them around as much as we can. You can steal 5 or 10 minutes a week doing stuff off the field. It's huge because it means those kids can get out of the locker room and go home, and the more time we get things done in school, the better it is after school.
Coach, looking back on your first season into the Cleveland West Conference, you guys went 5-2. Obviously, you had those 2 losses to Rocky River and Buckeye. But what are some of the things that you could take from last season's in your first year at the Cleveland West Conference to looking to improve going into year 2 this year?
I think the biggest thing is the coaches in the conference do a great job. This is my 3rd or 4th year playing against a lot of these teams. I know the conference name has changed, a few times, but you really get to know the coaches and their assistants and things like that. And they do a great job because we're all in the same boat. Everybody's got 45 to 60 kids, and it's not the SWC where we came from, where you've got 80 to 100. And that's a whole different world, so everybody has the same things. They've got quarterbacks that play safety. You've got, linemen that punt sometimes, or you've got guys, your O linemen are all playing D line. So I really respect the group because we have the same issues. One guy injured is really 2 spots in a lot of cases. So, how much do you develop all your players? And the other issue is always trying to have a JV team and a freshman team when you have lower numbers, and that's a tough thing that, we communicate in our conference almost on a weekly basis, really, like, hey, are we playing 3 games this week? Are we merging? Are we, how are we handling it? So I think just getting used to that in this conference, I think I'm at a point now where you're comfortable and the other coaches pretty well. They all do a great job. And really, we had some games last year. I mean, every game really was a good game until the 4th quarter. There wasn't. So I feel like it's a conference where your Buckeyes and your Rivers are really good, obviously, for the most part. But everybody has a shot to have a year where they can win something, And really, it's a matter of how many of your athletes can you keep from going to private schools in our conference. 1 or 2 kids when you've got 50 on the roster is a big difference. So I think all of us battle the same thing in this conference, really, except for Buckeye, because they're kind of out. They don't really have anybody that steals anybody from down there. But
Well, Coach, we'll get you out on this. I want to get back to this new logo because I keep seeing it behind you, and you keep flashing your new
Oh,
shirt down
yeah.
there.
Yep.
The question I have, are we going to see that on the helmet? Because we should see it on the helmet.
It is pretty cool. I sat in a bunch of meetings with our they hired well, not hired, but we had a team of people that met 3 or 4 times last year to develop what colors are orange, what colors are black, what's acceptable, because we've forever been a school that had like 10 different logos, right? We had multiple different eagles that every sport used and different logos. So I think they adopted that college motto where, hey, we're going to use this eagle, this NO, this cartoon eagle, and these colors, and that's it. And I love it. So we're going to stick with the old block NO because I'm a traditionalist, and we've had it forever. I do like the boasting eagle. When I played in high school, that boasting eagle was on our helmet forever in the late 80s and 90s. But we're going to stick with the NO. But this will start. It's appearing in a lot of our shirts and things like that. And I could see in the future it being on the helmet, maybe. Yeah, it's
Now,
a pretty
did
cool
you
logo.
did you ever think that a new logo would be? It seems like it's more involved and in depth than you would think. Getting a new logo
Oh, that
approved
whole
would be.
process? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because forever you'd have people would order things and you'd see different eagles, and we were allowed to use certain things, and certain things kind of were frowned upon. And I'm glad our district about 2 years ago started the process. So now we've got basically every coach has here's what you got, here's what you can use. And, everybody we do business with has it now. So you just say, I want the eagle head or I want the block NO, and, off you go.
Loving it. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on our show and talking to us tonight. I know it's a busy time for a lot of you head coaches that have your off-season programs going on. So always happy to have you on and talk a little North Olmsted Eagles football. And good luck this season. We'll be following you and hope to have some players and maybe get you on again during the season.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for what you guys do for high school football. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
That's head coach of the North Olmsted Eagles, Tim Brediger, joining us here on Sports on Tap. It's our Raymond Felton State Farm High School Football Preview Show. Want to thank all of our sponsors, too, for being a part of it. And, guys, a lot of good questions, I thought. A lot of different questions for some of these coaches. Kind of interesting to see what they have to say. We had guys like Coach Creel, who's only in his second season at Euclid, but he's been a head coach for a long time. And then you go to Coach Wells with 11 seasons. And then you go even more leadership with Coach Brediger, who has been there. I mean, it's been 3 decades at North Olmsted where he's been head coach there in North Olmsted. So an impressive coaches to get on the show and talk a little bit about their programs. It's going to be fun to see what some of these teams can do, especially North Olmsted, because you could see it started to click last season with their offense. I thought they started putting up more points in the beginning. I went to the Midview North Olmsted game at Midview, and offensively they just turned the ball over too much. They were able to get down the field, and then they turn it over, and Midview capitalized on a few turnovers. It was a low-scoring 14-0 game, but Midview's a team that improved last year as well. So a lot of these teams starting to improve. What are your guys' last thoughts before we end the show here on some of the coaches we had on today? Josh, we'll start with you to lead it off.
Well, it's just like you said, Rob. It's just interesting to hear these guys. They all have a wealth of experience and knowledge, but it seems each year they're always adjusting, learning something new, how to improve their team. I mean, that's what you have to do because everyone else is doing that. And for Coach Wells and Coach Brediger, those guys know each other. They play each other every year, and there's not much that they can hide from each other that they haven't already seen. So, trying to just find what fits their scheme, their players, and try to really, and basically an off season, try to put that all together and build onto something new is something I always enjoy hearing. I always enjoy figuring out and asking these coaches, what's it like in your off season? What are some of the things that you're doing to not only improve your team, but improve your staff, improve yourself as a coach? And each guy seems to do something a little bit different every year to make those changes to improve their team.
Noah Jacobson.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it really starts with Coach Creel. You know, he comes in, takes over the first year. Obviously, his first year was not year what he wanted in his 2-8 season, but he does have a lot of young talent coming back. Obviously, it's his junior and senior leg group that he is taking over for the varsity position and developing some of those younger guys, like his 8th grade team, I think went undefeated, like developing those freshmen, sophomores to really get to that varsity level pretty soon and hoping they can get a few more wins. Obviously, looking to improve on with a lot of talent with the juniors and seniors coming back, and with Coach Brediger. I mean, you talk about it. I mean, the 1-4 start and winning 5 of the last 7 games is a really big boost for his team going into the 2025 season. And with Coach Wells, I mean, he's got a lot of seniors coming back in. Obviously, that playoff loss against Lexington really hurt them and has really fueled them to get back into the weight room getting into this season. So again, a great night talking to these 3 coaches again, and looking forward to talking to them more of these coaches coming up next week.
Absolutely. And Sean Duffy, your last thoughts.
Well, you know, I would first off echo everything Josh and Noah just said about what these 3 coaches, very different perspectives on their chosen profession, for lack of a better term. But they all had that thread that I kind of noticed is they're ready to get things kicked off a little bit. They're, you know, as much as fun as it is talking about lifting weights and talking about what could be, they want to get to the point where we're cracking pads, where we're running plays, we got the crowds up, we got cheerleaders, we got bands. That's what they want. That's what this is all about. And I know from my aspect, I wasn't quite in that mode. And I mentioned I was a little late today because I was helping my son get fitted for pads. Like, you know, it's starting to get that feel. You know what I mean? You hit those pads, you get the helmet, you're ready to rock and roll. And it got me psyched up because I know what that means. That means not only do we get high school football on Friday nights, but you guys, we get Sports on Tap high school football show every Monday night coming to you live on YouTube. We recap. We're recapping the Suburban League. We're recapping the GCC, the SWC, the Cleveland West Conference. We may even throw some schools in there that we don't even cover because that's how good we are. But the only way that you are going to be able to see this or hear this on Spotify or YouTube is making sure you subscribe to us. And on YouTube, there's a little button that says subscribe. And then there's a little button next to it that has a thumbs up or a notifications bell that tells you whenever my beautiful face, Josh's beautiful face, Rob's old face, Noah's young, fresh face.
Hey, watch it, buddy.
Yeah, I got him. I made sure he's paying attention. Guys, we're coming into 2025. We're coming into another football season, and I am jacked for that because I think it's going to be a fantastic season. I think the Cleveland West Conference is probably going to be more so along the lines of the Southwestern Conference in much more of a dogfight. There's a lot of teams that are pretty evenly matched. Maybe Rocky River's got the edge. GCC, kind of a toss-up. Mentor's there, as always.
Josh is shaking
last year
his
from
head.
Medina.
Look at Josh.
Last year from Medina. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Josh and I, we know where the bread's buttered. SWC's got the Avon. Congratulations.
Oh, boy.
The Natty.
The Natty. It's the Suburban League. The SL.
Well, it's been a great show, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, the only way you're going to get this is if you subscribe to us on Spotify, on YouTube. We will bring you the very best coverage in the land. And you know how much I hate that nickname for Cleveland. But in the land, we are the best high school football coverage out there. Period. Point blank. End of sentence.
Well, and, you know, I'm going to put up our social media out there because we have a lot of social media coverage. You could take a look at all the nice logos up, even on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Josh is posting on Spotify. If you just want to listen on your way to work to these handsome, devilish, you might not see us, but you could hear these just sweet, soothing voices whenever you want.
All right, this is a sinking ship. Let's get this thing wrapped up and go.
All right.
Let's go.
Hey, I have some other good news though on the way for next week. We did confirm Justin Todd, the head coach of the Wadsworth Grizzlies. He will come on.
Natty.
We also
the Natty baby.
Cole Carter in his second season at Brunswick confirmed to come on and
PCC.
Talk a little Brunswick Blue Devils football. We have a message out to Coach Gibbons at Highland. We'll see if he gets back, and if not, we'll find we'll get another coach that hopefully can make it on for next week. So we have some good guests coming on the Raymond Felton State Farm High School football preview show as we continue on and we get closer here to the regular season. But guys, great job tonight. Want to thank obviously head coach Damion Creel for coming on, Coach Wells, and Coach Brediger of North Olmsted for coming on our show here tonight. But great job, and we'll see you next week. All right, for Josh Jeffy, Noah Jacobson, Sean Duffy, I'm Rob Trauman. Want to thank you for watching. Want to thank Ed Dick. He does the show usually. I had, coming in here. I don't do it as well as he does, but want to thank him for always being a part of these shows. And thank you for watching. I'm Rob Trauman. We'll see you next time. We're Sports on Tap.
See you on the other side.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.